No, happiness fades when life gets hard, but joy, real joy, the kind of joy that comes from the Lord, burns even in the dark. Because joy isn't about what's happening around you, it's about who's alive within you. I read an interesting story in a book once that I'd very much like to share with you. I'll read it to you now. I remember hearing a story about a headmaster at a boarding school in London. One of his students once remarked that he thought the headmaster had went to heaven every night because every morning when he saw him, he had such a wonderful smile on his face. The student figured that the only place you could get that kind of joy was by checking into heaven at the end of every day. One day the headmaster was asked why he was filled with so much joy, and his response was truly amazing. This is what he said. Joy is the flag that is flown from the castle of your heart when the king is in a residence. Isn't that amazing? That, in other words, joy is determined by whether or not Jesus Christ is at home in your life. It's not determined by your circumstances, what happens on the outside. That is more happiness. But the real lasting joy is determined by your relationship with Jesus. Happiness is fleeting. Happiness is about what happens to you. And to an extent, it's dependent on circumstances, dependent on your attitude and also your behavior. But the joy of Christ is much, much bigger. The joy of Christ is about a relationship. The joy of Christ is about a relationship with a person. It's something that we have access to, but it's also something that we must choose. And when we speak about joy, the fruit of the Spirit, it isn't about smiling through pain. It's a deep confidence that God is good. Even when everything around you seems to be falling apart, even when everything around you does not seem good, joy is born from a relationship. It's from walking close with God. In Psalm 16, the psalmist says, in your presence there's fullness of joy. It doesn't say in your paycheck or in your performance or even in your peace. Joy comes from knowing who you belong to when your heart is anchored in His presence. And yeah, there are going to come times in your life where things go up and down. Does one of these things, does one of those things, and that's part of the human experience. Joy, having joy doesn't mean that you'll never cry. It just means that your tears still trust God. I mean, for example, let's look at Paul, for example, the Apostle Paul, who wrote the book of Philippians. Now, if you read Philippians, it's a book about joy. And he wrote that book while he was chained in a Roman prison. That's how you know it's real. The world says, I'll rejoice when things get better, but the Spirit says, I'll rejoice because God is with me now. Now, on the fire ground, I've learned that pressure actually reveals character. In the same way, trial reveals joy. When everything is burned away, joy remains. Over the years, I've heard this quote from the Bible. It says, the joy of the Lord is your strength. That comes from Nehemiah 8 verse 10. And it's not just a cute quote, it's actually about survival. When your energy is gone, when your faith feels flat, joy is what allows you to rise again. The enemy can steal your comfort, he can steal your plans, but he can't touch your joy unless you hand it to him. So my challenge to you is this: stop chasing happiness and start cultivating joy. Joy grows when you thank God in the middle of your mess, when you choose gratitude over grumbling, when you remember that every trial is just God training your endurance. Joy is fireproof faith.